The movie opens in Beirut, where Frank Drebin crashes a secret terrorist meeting including leaders from Libya, Russia, Cuba, and others. In classic slapstick fashion, he single-handedly defeats them all, then returns home like nothing happened. This sets the tone of over-the-top parody mixed with spy antics. Frank is clearly a bumbling hero who somehow always survives. His return to LA kicks off the local plot. The international villains are left humiliated. Frank is a hero, but completely unaware of how absurd his actions appear. Officer Nordberg, Frank's close friend, goes undercover at the docks and stumbles upon a heroin smuggling operation. He's caught, shot multiple times, and barely escapes with his life. The entire scene is comedic despite the serious subject, filled with classic physical humor. He ends up in the hospital, barely alive and unable to talk. The criminals flee and clean up the scene. Frank takes this personally and launches his own investigation. He's determined to bring those responsible to justice. His loyalty to Nordberg becomes his main drive. Frank visits Nordberg in the hospital, delivering physical comedy as he tries to comfort him. Frank clumsily knocks over hospital equipment, sits on Nordberg's face, and misunderstands everything the doctors say. The scene is loaded with misunderstandings and dark humor. Nordberg struggles to give clues about the case. He utters cryptic phrases like "boat" and "I love you," which Frank takes as serious leads. The comedy intensifies as Frank causes chaos. The hospital visit turns into a disaster. Frank begins investigating wealthy businessman Vincent Ludwig, suspected of involvement in the smuggling ring. Ludwig is charming but sinister, hiding his true intentions. He owns a shipping business, giving him access to the docks. Jane Spencer, Ludwig's beautiful assistant, enters the story. Frank is instantly smitten, adding romance to the plot. His attraction to Jane makes him act even more foolish. Meanwhile, Ludwig pretends to be cooperative. Frank is suspicious, but lacks proof. The police department faces pressure from the mayor to solve the case quickly, especially with Queen Elizabeth II visiting soon. Captain Ed Hawken, Frank's boss, asks him to behave professionally during the Queen's visit. But Frank's reputation for chaos already has them worried. The Queen's visit becomes a looming subplot. Frank promises to be on his best behavior. The department organizes a security team for the event. Everyone is nervous about Frank ruining things. Frank visits Ludwig's office to question him. He pretends to be casual but ends up insulting Ludwig, crashing into things, and flirting awkwardly with Jane. The scene blends tension with ridiculous slapstick. Ludwig denies everything but hides a sinister mind control plot. Jane, meanwhile, seems unaware of Ludwig's criminal side. She's kind and cooperative with Frank. Frank leaves more confused than ever. Ludwig secretly prepares his next move. Frank discovers a clue involving the Angels baseball team connected to the planned assassination. Ludwig's company is sponsoring the game and the Queen will attend. Frank suspects that the game might be the assassination venue. This adds urgency and a ticking clock element to the story. The idea of a public execution during a game shocks him. He tries to rally support from his captain, but no one believes his theory. He continues alone. Frank and Jane begin seeing each other, leading to a hilarious montage. They do absurd things together, like running on the beach, playing in the park, and even brushing their teeth side by side while music plays. It's parodying romantic film cliches. Despite the comedy, Frank genuinely falls for her. Jane slowly warms up to him too. She finds him clumsy but charming. Their chemistry builds, adding emotional depth to the plot. The romance distracts Frank from danger. Frank takes Jane out on a date, trying to be suave. Everything goes wrong. Spilled food, broken furniture, and slapstick accidents. But Jane finds him charming in his own weird way. They share personal stories, and Jane starts revealing her doubts about Ludwig's business. Frank encourages her to dig deeper. Their bond grows stronger. The date ends with laughter and connection. Jane starts to see Frank as more than a clown. Ludwig reveals his real plan. He's going to use a hypnotic device, hidden in a pen, to make someone assassinate the Queen. The device can be triggered by a simple command. He tests it on a subject. who shoots himself on cue, showing the danger. It's a sinister twist wrapped in cartoonish comedy. Ludwig is calm and collected. He wants no witnesses. His plan relies on stealth, control, and timing. Jane remains in the dark. Frank interrogates one of Ludwig's henchmen. But his aggressive and clueless methods lead to more comedy than results. He accidentally injures the suspect and himself. Still, he learns about the pen device and suspects it will be used at the baseball game. He reports it to his superiors, but they don't take him seriously. They laugh off the idea. Frank feels helpless and unsupported. He knows the threat is real. Time is running out. Jane snoops around Ludwig's office and finds hidden blueprints and the hypnotic device. She begins to question her boss's motives. But Ludwig walks in before she can escape with evidence. He grows suspicious of her loyalty and watches her more closely. The tension builds as she tries to protect Frank. Jane realizes Ludwig is dangerous. She hides what she saw. Ludwig begins testing her. She plays along for now. Frank uncovers proof that the assassination will happen at the stadium during the national anthem. But when he tries to warn the authorities, they think he's overreacting. He's removed from the case. Frustrated but determined, Frank decides to go rogue. His mission now becomes personal. He won't let Norberg down. Or Jane, or the Queen. He begins preparing to stop the attack alone. Frank sneaks into the baseball game disguised as an opera singer, then later as an umpire. The scenes are filled with absurdity. He sings horribly and throws players out randomly as umpire. But it gives him access to the field. He's determined to find the assassin before it's too late. Meanwhile, Ludwig watches from a box seat. Everything is in place. Frank is the only hope. As Frank plays umpire, he causes total mayhem. He's hit by baseballs, dives through players, and starts a brawl. The crowd loves it, thinking it's part of the entertainment. Meanwhile, Ludwig watches calmly. The Queen is now in the stadium. Jane arrives in disguise to help. The pressure mounts. Frank begins scanning the field for suspicious activity. Frank discovers that Reggie Jackson, the famous baseball player, has been hypnotized to carry out the assassination. The crowd cheers him on, unaware he's under mind control. Frank tries to intercept him, but keeps getting blocked. The Queen's arrival is just moments away. Frank rushes across the field. Reggie moves closer with a hidden gun. The moment is tense. Ludwig activates the device, and Reggie begins marching toward the Queen with a gun. The tension spikes. Frank chases after him, knocking over fans, mascots, and security guards. The stadium is in chaos. It's a hilarious but high-stakes climax moment. Jane calls for help but is ignored. Reggie gets closer. Frank must act fast. Just as Reggie is about to shoot, Frank leaps at him and tackles him to the ground. The crowd boos, thinking he ruined the game, but Frank explains everything. The Queen is safe. Jane watches proudly from the stands, but Ludwig knows the plan has failed. Frank becomes the hero of the moment. The stadium cheers. Ludwig tries to escape amid the stadium chaos. Jane chases after him while Frank follows. The chase moves into the parking lot, full of slapstick stunts. Frank gets hit by a car door, Jane slips, and Ludwig hides in a hot dog cart. Eventually, they corner him. Frank confronts him. Ludwig threatens to kill Jane. The tension rises. Cornered. Ludwig tries to use the pen to hypnotize Frank, but Jane smashes the device. Ludwig grabs Jane, threatening to kill her. Frank pleads with him, but in typical Naked Gun fashion, Ludwig slips, falls off the stadium, and is run over by a marching band. The villains are defeated in the silliest way. Frank and Jane reunite. Reggie Jackson wakes up from the trance, confused and scared. Frank helps calm him down. The police confirm he was hypnotized. The Queen thanks Frank for saving her life, though she's slightly horrified by his earlier clumsiness. It's a hilarious moment of recognition. Frank is officially cleared. The audience laughs with relief. Back at police headquarters, Frank is honored for his bravery. The mayor gives him a medal, and the press celebrates him. Frank basks in the glory, delivering his usual silly speech. Jane watches proudly. Everything seems to be wrapping up happily. The city hails him as a hero. Even Ed admits he did well. Nordberg wakes up from his hospital coma. Frank visits him and accidentally knocks his bed over again. The hospital scene mirrors earlier ones with even more physical comedy. Nordberg tries to warn Frank about something new, but is cut off by more chaos. Nurses rush in. Frank slips on equipment. More laughs ensue. Frank decides to propose to Jane. He plans a romantic moment, but the setting goes hilariously wrong. Bad music, fire sprinklers, and falling signs. Still, Jane says yes. Their love story closes in classic parody style, mocking every dramatic romance trope. They embrace while a crowd watches. Everyone claps. The couple is complete. The Queen boards her plane and waves goodbye. Frank waves back, accidentally causing a flag to fall and hit a guard. More chaos follows, but the danger is over. The film gives a respectful but comedic farewell to the royal subplot. The Queen smiles. Frank poses for pictures. Everyone relaxes at last. As Frank and Jane walk away, the crowd cheers for them. Frank tries to bow, but knocks over a TV camera. Jane laughs, knowing this is who he is. The scene highlights that he's a fool, but a lovable one. Their relationship is built on honesty and chaos. The public supports him. A final kiss seals the deal. Frank makes a final visit to Nordberg, trying to help him sit up. Instead, he accidentally catapults him out of bed. Everyone panics, but Nordberg is somehow fine. It's the last of many running gags. The movie builds one last laugh for the audience. The doctor faints, Frank shrugs it off. Classic Drebin moment. Just like the TV show it's based on, the movie tries to end with a freeze frame, but Frank, Jane, and Ed awkwardly freeze mid-laugh while the background keeps moving. A janitor walks in confused. It pokes fun at TV cop show endings. The moment is self-aware and ridiculous. Viewers love the awkward pause. Fade to black. The credits roll over outtakes and behind-the-scenes style bloopers. Frank continues knocking things over, and minor characters get one last laugh. It's a fun, casual way to end the film and keep the humor going. The upbeat music seals the mood. Audiences leave smiling. Slapstick wins again. It's a perfect finish. The Naked Gun ends as one of the most iconic comedy parodies of all time. With Leslie Nielsen's perfect deadpan delivery, slapstick gold, and non-stop laughs, it remains a cult classic. Its mix of detective noir and absurd humor has inspired generations of spoof films. It's the definition of dumb done right, a comedy legend, timeless and hilarious.